Hey everybody, welcome back to When Words Fail Music Speaks podcast, where I'm your professional handicap host, James Cox. And I got an awesome interview today. I'm interviewing a Mr. Mell Schaer. He is the lead singer of Red Crown Tourists. But first, let me tell you a little bit about him before we bring him on. Red Crown Tourists formed in late 2013 as outlet for songwriting by Mell Schaer. The original idea was to have any musician involved to be known as tourists. Over the years, it's slowly evolving into a full blown musical act. As tourists in this life, we experience events that, when reflected upon, can be retold as short musical stories set to country and rock style music. Many musicians have contributed their talents to an overall evolving sound. Typically, the songs take on a country Americana feel and continue on in that vein. With two albums completed and one on the way, the journey forges on as we tour this big old world. How you doing, Mr. Mel?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good, good. That's a lot. To go back and okay. So, first, I want to ask you about the original idea first, because that sounds interesting. So, when you start beginning to form this band, did you plan to hire any musician and they'll play with you, or did you have? Did you have a whole band set up too?
No, I play in a lot of cover bands, and I always want to write, and sometimes bands don't want to. And so the way I deal with that is I just set up my own songwriting operation, if you want to call it that. So it's kind of a full blown, it's becoming kind of a full blown business model. Not that I'm, lighting up the world money wise, but I copyright everything. I'm registered with BMI, and I just have my own publishing company, things like that. Just kind of preparing myself if anything ever did happen. I already have that taken care of. Um, the whole concept started back in 2013. I was watching TV, and Bonnie and Clyde had been tracked down by the law, I guess, at a place called the Red Crown Tourist Courts. They were like little motels on the side of the road. And I'm a man of faith, and the Lord wore a red crown, and we're just tourists here as believers. So I said, well, I'll just kind of set that whole thing up. And that was how the original concept began.
Okay, yeah, that's very cool because I find it uh well, now it's time for tough, because I understand the money issue. So I guess you have to do what you can, and yeah, I guess it's slowly forming into like a bigger company. It's what I'm hearing right now.
Seems to be that way. Every musician that's ever contributed their talents to what I do, I call they're part of what I do. And so as time has gone on, I'm getting a little traction. People are like, "Hey, you play live," things like that. So I'm in the beginning process of picking the players that want to be part of it. And my whole goal right now locally is just to be in a position that when national acts come through to various venues, we can book and we can play our own music and just kind of get it out there that way, be exposed to their audiences and things like that. So that's where everything's at right now.
Yeah. So you have two albums. One is called Again, which is your latest album, and the other one is called. Uh,
So what
I
we tried,
So yes, so what we try. Yes, sir. Thank you for that. And so those are all experiences that you've experienced
pretty
because
much. I don't. I take.
your model is stories forged in your life.
A lot of times they're just truisms. There's a little bit of piece like I wrote a song on again. It was "You Should Go Home," and it was
Yeah.
kind of based on a conversation I had with a lady that I met at one of the clubs I was playing, and she kind of said, "Man, I've been married since I was 16, and she was happy in her marriage and everything, but you know, she seemed curious on stuff. So the only part of that song that's true is that she'd been married since she was 16. So I created a story around that idea, and that's what evolved.
Yeah, yeah. Because well, I find it's like country music now is trying to get away from storytelling. Because I mean, when you look at at like Johnny Cash, "Ride This Train," that's 10 songs about 10 train rides that he went from, you know, state to state. You know, and I find like they're getting out of that whole storytelling. So where do you see country music going as a whole now? You know, given the
I,
fact that they don't.
Alan Jackson just put an album out, and he's not real happy with the way Nashville's going.
Right.
And I think guys like that, and how I, that's kind of my age range in there. And I'm a huge Skinnerd fan, and Skinnerd always wrote stories about their
Yeah.
experiences, you know, and put them in records. So I've always been of that mind that you write a story and you formulate some chords and some music behind it, and you tell the story. And I think people still like that, you know, like a lot of the songs I play in the clubs and stuff. They're stories, but they're kind of about drinking or whiskey. You know, I'm so sick of people taking the name whiskey in a band or whiskey in a song. It's almost like they're doing
Yeah.
it as a cliche, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll do it if it adds to the story, but I'm more focused on writing a story. And like for instance, in my cover band, it's Lefty Martin the Lefty Martin band. We're beginning to write. We want to put out about 12 songs and also be in that position to open um, when national acts come through. And we're starting to write, and so we do a five-way split, kind of the REM model. Everybody gets a piece of the action. Anybody that contributed, the band, whether they contributed or not, gets a fifth of the copyright, and that way I think it keeps everybody happy. Anyway, one of my jobs was to write lyrics for the song, and then other players are going to write lyrics to the song. We'll see what we have, and then we'll pick and we'll go from there. So the storyline I chose for this was a bunch of guys down in Mexico drinking, and somebody, you know, grabs the character by the throat, and he cracks a bottle over his head, and then he thinks he's dead because all the guy's friends around. And this beautiful senorita grabs him by the arm and puts him in his car and speeds off to the border, slams on her brakes. They get out and run. But when he looks back, he had fallen in love with her during the time. So he goes back down, finds her, and she grabs his hand because her father's coming, and her father doesn't like gringos hanging around with his daughter. So they get in the car and it's back out. And so the song's called Down in Mexico. And it's it's just a quick story set to some chord structure, and it's kind of cool. It's
Yeah.
it, you know, so it as a songwriter, I'm learning as I go, learning how to try to tell those stories in 3.5 minutes so that I can, you know, accommodate what you
Right.
guys do too. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, two of my favorite songs on your song on your album called Again is Tin Wheel Bus and the Renegade. And I just think about those old time storytelling songs where I mean you just knocked it out of the park with Tin Wheel Bus. I love that song to death.
I'm glad you do. I love it too. And you know, it's weird when you put music out. Um, People are gonna most for me, most people aren't gonna like it, but there's some like you that go,
Yeah.
man, that's a really cool song.
Yeah.
I think it's a great song.
It is.
Um,
It is.
it's just a story about a little girl that dreams about making it big, and she does through hard work. You
Yeah.
know, I kind of had Dolly Parton in mind when I was singing that.
Hey man, that's the best person to go to when you're thinking about writing songs. You know, Dolly
Right.
Parton killing it right now. She just released like a rock album, which I haven't heard yet, but I heard some great things about it. You know, so she's everywhere now.
Well, I have a friend back in Nashville's named Dave Fowler, and he was playing with the Artemis Pyle band. Artemis Pyle's the drummer for Leonard Skinner that went
Yes,
and got help and all that. So
yeah,
anyway, Dave was instrumental. He's real close with her, he used to be her tour manager, things like that. And I think he's helped out quite a little bit. I don't know for sure, but I know he
Yeah,
talks about it from time to time. So yeah, it's kind of cool. She's delving into rock. It's probably something new
yeah,
for her.
yeah. Yeah, well, I think that this is the first time ever she's released like a rock album. I mean, she's been around since like the 70s, right, or something, 80s. You know, I can't remember.
Well, everything's bleeding over. Like Beyonce's
Yeah,
coming in. I think Jay-Z's thinking about getting into country, and
yeah,
so
that's okay. So so let's talk about that. So I don't think that they belong in country because to me it's like I guess she's doing it for relevancy and like fans and views. I don't know. You know, you could have the totally opposite you know opinion, but
well,
what's your
well, she's a Texas girl, so I
okay?
imagine she grew up around it, and I don't know what her motivation is.
Yeah,
Could just be money, but I mean, she's probably got more money than she needs,
yeah, yeah.
and I don't know if it's the industry kind of forcing it to be.
That seems
I,
what it seems like to me. I don't know. You know, I can't really say because I'm not in the industry, of course. But yeah, that seems to be kind of weird. That all of a sudden, you know, she's country. You know, I don't really get it, but I don't know. You know,
yeah, I listened to it. It's kind of cool,
yeah,
I'm not a big Beyonce fan, but she's
no,
pretty
right.
talented, So
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the fact that she can sing. That girl can sing. You know, some songs. But
she can sing for sure.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Are you going to like a farm? I hear chickens in the background, or like
Oh
rooster.
yeah, I live out in the country.
Nice.
I live about an hour out of San Diego, east in the mountains, and it's a place called Campo. And a lot of history here. The Buffalo Soldiers were here under Cavalry 24 way back in the World War II, and they guarded the border.
Yeah.
They were African American cavalry riders, and so they were called Buffalo Soldiers because the American Indians, when they would scrap with them, they for this is what I heard. And I don't
Mhm.
know if this is true or not, and I'm not trying to be uh, belligerent or whatever, but
Yeah. Yeah.
the texture of the hair reminded the American Indians of the buffalo hair. Now, that's just what I heard up here. I don't
Right.
even know if
Right.
that's true or not, but they were very good hearted when they shut them down. From what I understand, they wanted them to kill the horses that they rode.
Mm.
And somewhere up here, there's like a bunch of saddles buried, and I think they took the horses off to Canada to keep them alive. But I don't know if
Yeah.
that's mythology or if that actually happened. But that's kind
Right.
of the scuttle around here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's great living on a farm. Well, I never lived on the farm before, I have a few friends that just bought chickens for you know for eggs. You know,
Yeah,
they make the best eggs. You know, so I don't know. So,
everybody up here has animals. Sometimes at night, when the after the sun's gone down, especially on a warm night, you'll hear donkeys going, and we have uh, bull arena like two properties over, and when they're going to
wow.
do a bull ride, you'll hear the bulls. It's the animals can really get rowdy out here, and it's
Yes.
kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's great. You know, they're very lively. So yeah. Going back to music. Who is your favorite country singer of all time?
Favorite country singer,
Yes, sir.
Ray Price.
Okay, I've heard that a lot. Yeah, yeah. You know, there's something very mystique and something very motivating about his music. You know.
I got to see him at the Ryman, and I went on a road trip for my son went in the military, and we just did a father son kind of impart some wisdom knowledge. And one night we were in Nashville, and I told my son, I said, I don't care who's playing at the Ryman, we're going to see the show. And we went up, and it was Ray Price. We got tickets, and we got tickets that weren't so good. So we went up by the soundboard to hear better sound, and the usher out of nowhere came up and traded us our tickets for two tickets, two rows back on the front row.
Nice.
So I got to see him probably from 20 foot away, and it was an amazing show. That man, what an amazing man he was. Great singer, you
Yeah.
know. So that was cool.
Nice. Nice. So so how do you maintain a sense of authenticity in your music as well as appealing to both traditional country fans as well as newer ones?
Lately I've been pulled off, like, oh, it's got to be 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And,
Yeah,
how are you going to get people to listen to it? And for a couple of weeks there, I was like, I don't want to go there. I definitely want to get my songs really efficient. That's what I'm
right.
trying to do. But I don't want to sing about the cliche things like Bud Light and neon lights and trucks and dogs and all that. That's going on all over the place. And like Ray Price said, he said, you can't lose with a good love song. So I always try to keep that in the back of my mind too. Even that song about Mexico, it's kind of a love song.
Yeah,
Two people fell in love and they ran off. And so I just try to, I write songs that I like to listen to when I listen to them back. If the music's good, I write some dingers. I write some real dogs from time to time that I don't like to listen to, but I try to maintain that storyline, and helps me as a writer and a thinker, a creator. I've been in a lot of theater and film background. In fact, that's something that is kind of interesting. Three of my songs have been chosen to as part of the soundtrack of a movie that's being made, that was made up here where I live. Way back in the 80s, they made a movie called Slaughterhouse. It was a real B cut 'em up movie, and
yeah.
the producer and the director just made the second one called Slaughterhouse 2 up here, and I got a little small film part in it, and I sent my music to them, and they're like, "Man, we like 10 wheel bus,
Yeah, it's
take,
great. Yeah.
take off my boots, and the Renegade." So those three songs are going to be in the movie soundtrack in some way, shape, or fashion. So that's kind of cool too.
Well, when that movie comes out, you have to tell me what it is so I can watch it.
Yeah,
I
it's supposed
love
to
it.
be. I think they're releasing. They're still doing some pickup shots, and
Yeah,
the guy that engineers my work, his name's Jeff Forrest at Double Time Studios out here. I linked those two, so he's actually going to write the rest of the soundtrack, and I may help with that a little bit. I don't know, but Jeff's super talented, and he's taught me everything I know about being in the studio, and I've watched him produce my stuff and watched him work. I've just learned so much from him. So he's kind of my main mentor and teacher.
right, right. Going back to what Ray Price said about love songs, he says you can't go wrong with love songs. And I figure that's true because I mean, this world is so dark and dank. Who
Yeah.
wants to be in this world? It's all depressing. A love song will get you out of that funk and get you motivated again for the next day, whatever. And I think it's love songs are just great.
Oh yeah. It works. People want to hear the wonderful, because life's hard sometimes, and we need that break. I did just write a song though, called "Cutting You Loose." A I had a relationship go bad in
Wow.
a while back, and so I ended up having to kind of cut a bunch of people loose because it
Yeah.
just wasn't a good place for me. Uh, and even in that song, I was kind to the other person in the song. And that
Yeah.
one's kind of based on a true story. But at the same time, it was like, I can't solve your problem, so I'm out of here. So,
Right. Yeah.
the tagline on it is "I'm cutting you loose."
Sometimes you have to. I mean, you're perceived as a bad guy in that relationship if you do, but but it's not. You're doing it for your mental health and everything. So yeah,
Yeah, you have to fight hard to keep your thoughts good.
yeah,
If thoughts get bad, that can spiral you down into depression and anxiety and nervousness, and that's just no fun to live that way.
yeah.
So
That's
positive thinking, and you know, so you have to edit your friends from time to time.
most times. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So we all know that music is evolving ever so rapidly now. As country music continues to evolve, what other genres or artists from different backgrounds have had this lasting impact on your style?
Yeah. So when I was younger, my brother knew a radio DJ, and that was back in the days of vinyl. So my brother would always bring home the albums that he wasn't going to use anymore, and the corner was cut out of them, so I could always tell when he got it from the DJ. So when I was when I was 5, I had 3 brothers. They liked the Beatles and Rolling Stones. So I heard that a lot in the house. So that was kind of early influence. Um, I I go I go to church. Usually when I go to Church of Christ, and it's a cappella there. So sung a lot of the old hymns, and you hear the melody lines and stuff. So that was a huge influence there. But also Stephen Stills, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. When I was
Yeah.
about 15, 16 in Oklahoma, I lived there. Leonard Skinner, when I was 12, I think I was the only kid on the block that had ever heard Freebird. I was right there at the first album and followed him ever since. Just love Leonard Skinner. And I got a good story about that if you have time, and I'll tell you. Um, and then John Hyatt and Lucinda Williams. I love that they're just songwriters. They don't seem to really look for commercial. A lot of people record their songs, but they just write songs, and they
Yeah.
write how they're feeling. Especially Lucinda Williams. She'll get after it. If she's had a bad thing happen, she'll write about it. And then I think in college when I was getting my degree, Frank Zappa was kind of my college band. I listened to everything he did. And then I think my all-time favorite band is Tears for Fears.
Yes.
I've always loved their work. So that's
Yeah.
kind of, I would say that kind of encapsulates my main influence through
Yeah,
time.
sounds like you're just like me because I listen to everything under the sun. Because
Yeah, yeah,
you can't limit yourself to one genre. Like I used to be big into heavy metal back when I was a teenager. You know, because I was um raised on country music. My mom and dad loved country. Of course, my dad loved the Creedence Clearwater Revival. My
oh
mom
yeah, yeah,
my mom loved Elvis, and my aunt loved the Beatles. But we were mainly raised on country music, and then I found heavy metal, and I couldn't stay off that until like 20 something years old, and then I started listening into more music, that I ever expected, and it's great stuff.
oh yeah, yeah. I like it. I like everything. I listened to a lot of Rush when I was younger too, and
Yeah.
gosh, who Mott the Hoople, some British bands, and
Yeah.
I was in a power pop band, so I got exposed to a lot of the
All right.
glamour rock from the old days, and uh, learned how to play that stuff too. So, and I've been in like 30 bands over, in different kinds of genres. Been in blues bands, rock bands. I'm in country bands now. Um, so I've picked a lot of stuff up from just,
Yeah.
playing too. So
So now that you said that, what is the rowdiest place you've ever played at? Like a bar or like a actual stadium or can you think of a really rowdy place?
most of the places I've played, like that song, The Renegade, that
Mhm.
I wrote that about a club here in San Diego called The Renegade. And certain bands that show up there's a lot of fights going on. The bouncers are real busy all night. And usually when I play there, everybody's just there to 2-step, 10-step country swing, right? And
Mhm.
so, uh, I haven't really been a super rowdy one. Although this
Okay.
Saturday we're playing a place called the Red Eye up in a place called Fallbrook, and
That
I
that might be
hear
the rowdiest one. Yeah. Yeah.
this may be the rowdiest one
Yeah.
coming. I don't know. I'll tell you if it is, but
All right. So I got about three more questions for you, sir.
okay.
So what are some unique and or unexpected challenges that you face while on the road as a country musician? Have you faced any like big, huge challenges yet?
No, I
Um,
haven't been
no?
on the road much. I did do a tour with that power pop band, and we went into Arizona, played New Orleans and El Paso, and um, the biggest challenge is getting paid because you're spending money. Give you an example. We played a place called the Dragon's Den in New Orleans way back, and we made $18 as a band, and
No,
played. and played 20 and got and paid $20 for parking. So
No, that's $2. Yeah, right. You live with $2, man. That's
getting
like, yeah,
paid and getting paid and eating, right?
yeah, yeah. Hey,
But
man.
this is my thing I do. So even the challenges, I'll just turn them into songs. It's all a good experience.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, awesome. Okay, so you said you learned about how the studio works um with your friend. What's the number one thing you took away from working in any studio?
Being prepared, coming in
Okay.
with your work done, so you're not wasting the engineer's time or the producer's time.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than going, oh, let's try that. Because the guy on the board gets real antsy, like, dude, you know,
This is your
I
money.
got
You-
I got other things to do. If you're not going to take yourself serious, then I'm not going to take yourself. I'm not going to take you serious either. So being prepared, understanding the rules in the studio, not getting in there and going, oh, let's have a party and drinking and
or
boozing.
or what does this button do and mess with the whole thing? It's
You're
like
right.
click on any button you want to, and oh my god, you messed with the whole thing. Gotta shut
Oh,
down for a few days.
he's
So
he's told me some real stories about people that come in and they might come in like divas and oh dude and then I think it's just coming in and just knowing how to play well in the sandbox.
yeah, yeah, well,
You know, don't
yeah.
throw sand.
That that's probably the number one thing you can take away from that is don't throw sand in it. Yes, you are right. Yeah. Two more questions if you don't mind.
Be no
So
problem.
who are your four main bands that you go to on your? Okay, so if you had a Mount Rushmore for four bands or four individual artists, who would it be?
I really like Roger Klein and the Peacemakers. They're out
Okay.
of Arizona. Great live band. Uh, they were just here and I missed them and I was sad. Anytime John Hyatt comes in, my wife loves him. We'll go. Lucinda if she comes. Um, and I like Blackberry Smoke too. They're real good live. It's sad to hear they lost their drummer, but
Oh
they,
no! Yeah,
sometimes here in San Diego the audiences are not. It's no fun being an audience member because sometimes the younger crowd's a little entitled. And they don't.
yeah.
If you're taller than them, they don't think you should stand in front of them. And you're like, I was here for an hour and a half. You should have gotten here
But yeah,
earlier.
yeah, get here sooner. Yeah, yeah. Because
They'll shove into you and try to make your night miserable, try to make you leave. And I don't like that. I'm too old for that. So I don't go see Blackberry Smoke unless I can get a seat. But I really like Steve Vai too. I just saw him at a place out here called Magnolia. And what was nice, the audience members were musicians
yeah,
and very kind. Nobody was causing a problem. Everybody was very calm and civil. And I
yeah.
like concerts like that, So that'd
Was
probably be my.
was he with Joe Said Starting? Because I know that they did a run together like this past like month or something.
No, he was just by
Okay,
himself,
okay.
and it was a great show. He always does really. He's so good. Golly,
And yeah, especially with this Hydra guitar, I don't know how he does it.
yeah.
Like got like four guitars connected to. It's insane. I just
He's just really really good.
yeah, I
The
just
guy
got
that does usually the guy that does my work, his name's Jamie Kine out of Los Angeles. He plays with Steve Vai and Zappa plays Zappa. So I'm really lucky to have that guy want to do the guitar tracks on my tune. So
yeah.
it's great when you have great musicians around you. You just sound better.
It is. And you get stuff done faster too because they know
You
what they're
do,
doing, right?
yeah,
Instead of
yeah.
going into the studio and what's All right.
And they help.
So
They help you too. They're like maybe like
yes.
for example, the song "You Should Go Home." The bass line, because I'm primarily a bass player, I do acoustic just to get scratch tracks and start
Okay.
doing the tracking.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, that bass line's a little busy. So I sent it out to Dave Fowler in Nashville. Didn't tell him why. I said, hey, can you do this bass line? He did. So I was listening to how he did it, and I learned a lot from that. So now I've simplified my
Mm,
playing quite a bit, and it's working out for me a lot better.
nice. Nice. But that's always good here. Last question of the day. Okay. So this might be the hardest question I have for you today.
Okay.
Um, if you can name me an artist, an album, or a song that you can listen to, but you can't tell me how it makes you feel deep inside your soul.
I would say the album would be Raoul and the Kings of Spain. Um, and there's about four songs on there that Gail Ann Dorsey played bass on that. She's my she, she has to be Gail Ann Dorsey and Leon Wilkson from Leonard Skinner, and she played on that album. And every time I listen to it, I'm just like, how did she hear
Wow.
that? How'd she do
Yeah.
that? But that whole album is tops in my estimation. And so I would kind of, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
totally did. Yeah. Hell, any question you gave me would have been awesome because I asked you what songs can you not tell people about, and you just nailed on the head. So yeah, so thank you for that. Yeah,
Well, let me tell you about my story. I was going to tell you.
yeah,
I was in a tribute band here called Skinner's Innards for about 5 years, and we just did Leonard Skinner music. And one of the guitar players that wanted to play with us, he is good friends with Artemis Pyle, the drummer. And so I'm interviewing him, and he looks at me, and goes, "You want to talk to Artemis?" And I'm like, "Huh? Of
yeah.
course."
Of
So
course, dude.
he calls him and gives me the phone. So here I'm talking to my childhood hero,
Oh,
and through
awesome.
that we arranged for him to come out, and he came out and sat in with our band, did about 3 shows with us out here. And I what a nice man he is. And I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting here playing bass with a drummer, which is always a tight relationship anyway.
Yeah,
And I'd look over and go, how did I get here? How
it's
am I
all good
playing?
now,
How am I?
dude.
So
It's
that's like the crowning point.
yeah, yeah. And I guess they played a lot of Leonard Skinner songs, obviously, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
and we had a good time. He it was nice to play with the drummer that knew all the parts, because then I could play all the bass lines that were supposed to be there, which was a
yeah,
challenge because Leon was
yeah.
dang good.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Artemis knows what he's doing because he wrote the songs too.
Uh,
So that guy can kill it on the drum kit any day of the week.
you know what I like about guys like that. After the show, I left, and he had a line of people that wanted to talk to him. He made sure he talked to everybody that night that wanted to talk to him. He was there till 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
Ray
that's all.
Price did that too. He talked to his fans.
Ray Price. Yeah.
So
Did you ever get the chance to meet Ray Price?
no,
Oh man, yeah,
I
that would
wish I
have
would have. I listen to his songs all the time. One of my favorite songs he does is "No More Songs to Sing," and it's a
been
love song.
right. Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
says, "When I'm done with all this, then we can have our lives." And the end of his last album that he did, he had cancer, and
Oh yeah,
his
yeah.
wife told the story that they were driving in the truck, and he looked at her, he said, "You think they'll like it?" And
Mm.
amazing, amazing.
So for all of our listeners listening right now, what do you have upcoming tours? Well, we mentioned a new album coming soon, right?
Yeah, so I wrote this album, being 63. One of my favorite songwriters is Travis Meadows. He lives in Nashville. He's written a lot of songs. A lot of people have recorded his music, and I watch his little YouTubes. And he said, two things. He said, the last thing Nashville needs is another song, and Nashville is a 10-year town. It takes you about 10 years to kind of get on the map. And at 63, I don't have that kind of time. Um, so I can do what I would do back there, possibly, but out here. So the album's titled West of Nashville.
Mm,
And so I'm in the process of writing the title track. And part of it is looking to that shining hill, that shining city on the hill. I'll never be part of that club. But you
right.
know what? I'm still going to do it out here. And so that's what that whole concept is about. I'm west of Nashville.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So I can't wait to hear it. Yeah. No, I loved your album again. I haven't listened to your first album, which I mean, so I'm gonna go back and listen to all of your stuff for sure.
One of my songs on there that makes my wife cry is it's called Again. So the title track is
yeah,
Again. I
right.
wrote that to my daughter because her husband passed away, my son-in-law,
Yeah.
and it just devastated her life and my granddaughter's life. And so it's just kind of letting her know, you're gonna rise and spread your wings again. And so that's a that's a heartfelt song. That's a true one. So
Yeah. Nice, nice. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to listen to that song too, along with all the that's other songs you got. And I can't wait for the West of Nashville
yeah,
CD. You gotta tell me when that's coming out so we can so
I'm
I can get it.
I'm sitting at 9. I'm probably shooting at 12. Who knows? I
Okay,
probably won't
that
release it
sounds
till November, December. That gives me some time. And my engineer Jeff Forrest that I told you about,
hmm?
he's retiring in November and he's moving to Portugal. So I'm going to lose a big
Portugal.
part. Yeah, he
Wow.
getting out of California
Hey
like
man,
people
you
are.
gotta go. Everybody's leaving, and I understand why. But
Oh my gosh,
it's a
the
mess out
the
there.
the government out here is it's a super majority and they just do what they want and their
Yeah,
ideas don't always work out economically, right? So we're suffering for that.
yeah.
And but we're still going to keep it up. He's going to set up his recording studio in Portugal, and so
Nice.
I can still because I'm sending files everywhere. In fact,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on the album again. Sorry for being so long winded.
No, no, it's
On the
fine. This is
on the
great.
album again, the one called "Eye of the Hurricane."
Yes.
I wanted fiddle in there. I couldn't find a local player, and Dave Fowler back in Nashville knows Garth Brooks's fiddle player, and
Right.
so we sent the song out, and he only charged me $125 to do the whole song, and
Nice.
so I have Garth Brooks fiddle player. He doesn't know me, I don't know him, but he's on my album. So that's how you do it nowadays. You can send files all anywhere in the world, and people do their work, send them back, and then you mix them, master them, and there you go. So.
I heard that. What's her name? The lead singer from Hailstorm, Lizzie Hale. I heard she charges $10,000 to be on the song. I'm like, holy crap! I can't even do $200 sometimes. Can't imagine spending $10,000 for her voice or her to be on the song. You know.
Yeah, uh, honestly, when you look at the industry, there's a real good book called "Everything You Want to Know About the Music Business," written by an attorney. I think his last name is Passman. I think every artist should have that as study material, but it just makes you realize everybody's got their finger in the pot.
Yeah,
And one thing you'll hear if you're a writer is, "Oh man, your music's so good. Come back and record with us and I'll take the tracks to a record label." And they're just trying to make money in the
yeah.
studio. So you have to be careful. I call them Southern slickers.
There you go. Yeah, cause I've been interviewing artists like yourself for good on for like 4 years now, and a lot of them are going to independent. They're making their own songs. They're making their own records. You know,
Just what
because
I'm doing, you
yeah,
know.
right, yeah, because labels just they will take like 85% of the things and toss it aside. Like, who are you now? We've got what
Well,
we want
that's
out of you.
that
You know,
that's what that guy wrote in his book. He says they can pick anybody off the street and turn them into a star. And as long as you play the game and you're making money, you're in it. The minute you don't, next, you're out.
yeah,
Next one's
exactly.
in.
Yeah,
So it's all about the dollar. That's what
yeah,
everybody's in it for. So.
yeah. Well, and which is sad. So, but
Well,
uh,
that's why I've done as much as I can that I know of business wise behind the scenes, just in case. I mean, even though I have my own publishing, I don't have connections at all. But
right.
if somebody were to come to me, I have full copyright on it. So yeah, I'll license them the song, go make it famous, and then I'll get royalties. Whether that'll ever happen, I don't
I'm
know.
sure
But
will.
who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows?
I
I
mean,
don't
I
know.
mean, I
But
mean,
I'm
somebody,
ready if it. Yeah, I'm ready if it does. So
somebody might pick up 10 Will Bus, and there you go.
exactly.
That's a
So
fantastic album, bro.
the biggest enemy to an artist is our ego because
Yes. Yes.
we want to be loved and told how great we are,
Yeah.
but that can really get you in trouble if you're not smart in business. Like
Exactly.
Prince says, own your masters.
Yes, and he did.
He
and
did.
he somehow passed away. I wonder why, right? So,
Yeah, makes you wonder sometimes, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, it does. It does. It does. Uh, so Mel, we honestly love you, and we hope to God you come back anytime you want to.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
and I can't wait for Western Industrial. I'm going to keep everybody up to date on that one.
I
And,
appreciate that.
and you are on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah, and if people like a song and they just want to buy a song, you can get it on iTunes. You can get it on my website, which is www.rctstar.com. So RCT Red Ground Tour Star, rctstar.com. You can buy
Nice.
it there too. But iTunes has really great compression. I like how they sound when you download them from
Yeah.
iTunes,
Yeah.
and it's
And
cheaper.
yes. I love iTunes better than Spotify. I can't stand Spotify, because they don't pay their artists nothing.
Well, and
So
from
I mean, it is what it is.
what the guy said in that book, that's kind of how royalties are paid out of BMI and stuff. When your songs are played, that all the artists pay into a big pool,
Yeah.
and then they, like, I guess Harry Fox is big on tracking who's played what, and that's kind of how where
Like,
they pick from royalties. I think that's how it works.
yeah. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know either.
yeah. Yeah, but you're welcome back anytime you want to, and
Okay,
I will keep all the fans updated with all your cool stuff. And for
okay,
everybody listening right now, always remember when words fail, music speaks. Bye, guys.
that's right. Thank you.